friends, welcome to my garden. My name is Emily Ruff, and I'm coming to you today from the beautiful Sage Mountain Botanical Sanctuary. And I'm so excited to share with you one of my longest and dearest plant allies, chamomile. There are two main types of chamomile used in Western herbalism: German chamomile, Materia Chamomile, and Roman or English chamomile, Chamomile nobile. The name chamomile is derived from a Greek word that means earth apple or ground apple. It's a relative in the aster family of a similar plant called pineapple weed that you often see growing along the ground in lawns and through cracks in the sidewalk in parts of New England and the Northeast. Chamomile is one of the 20 herbs that we cover in our Roots of Herbalism program because I feel like chamomile is such an important plant for everyone to know. In part, it's because it has such a wide array of benefits and can be used from kids all the way up through elders. But also because chamomile is such an accessible herb. You don't have to go to a fancy health food store or apothecary or order online to find chamomile. You can find the herb at every grocery store in every city. I've worked a lot with herbalism over the last 15 years in environments where working with plants is not traditional, like a hospital or a hospice facility. And sure enough, every single cafeteria I've gone to at a hospital has had chamomile tea that I could share with my clients or with their family members. So I consider it a very accessible herb, and it's a very familiar herb. Many of us were given chamomile by our mamas or our grandmas when we were kids, and so the flavor and the aroma of chamomile is familiar to us. For many of us, it's comforting. It feels like home. I consider chamomile a gateway herb because I can offer it to friends and loved ones who aren't so savvy about herbal medicine, and generally because it's so familiar, they'll receive it gladly, and once they start to understand the benefits of an herb like this, then they're more likely to accept some of my other recommendations. If you're tuning in from my stomping grounds in Florida, then you would consider this an herb to cultivate in your garden in the cooler months of the year. Down in Florida, I sow the seeds in the fall so that I can enjoy the blossoms through the winter time. It tends to be an annual that's a little too tender in the summer heat. And even growing it in the cool months of the year, I generally cultivate it in a pot so that I can reposition the plant throughout the yard depending on the heat, so that if it's getting really sunny and warm, but this plant still has some flowers left to go, I can move it to a bit of a shadier spot so that it's a little more protected. If you're tuning in from a temperate environment like here in Vermont, then summer is the time you're going to be enjoying chamomile. I sowed this particular plant from seed in the springtime, and now I'm enjoying the blossoms this summer. You'll notice that the blossoms are starting at the end of the plant and going all the way down through towards the base. If you, like this patch, just have a small patch that you're starting out for its first season, then you may just pick off these flowers for medicine one by one. But if you have a really large patch of chamomile, you might consider getting a garden rake with small, thin tines so that, like a fork, you can lift these flowers off of the plant and into your harvest basket. There are two main types of chamomile that we use in modern herbal medicine today: German chamomile and Roman chamomile. We primarily work with the flowers of chamomile, and you can use them fresh or dried, but also you can work with the leaves of chamomile. I really like to use the leaves for topical preparations for pain and inflammation. And chamomile has also traditionally been used in winemaking and beer brewing, and the leaves are primarily used in beer brewing because that bitter flavor that comes along with them is really what's preferred. Again, this is another plant in the aster family, Asteraceae, which is typified with its compound flower. Each of these little flowers that we see here is actually a whole grouping of flowers in one flower together. It's most known by its white petals with its yellow centers. If I'm harvesting this plant, I like to pick the flowers as they're just starting to open and unfurl, rather than the flowers that have been on the plant quite some time, so I can catch that fresh medicine. Chamomile is considered a bitter, slightly warming, and relaxing herb in its energetics. Many of you might remember The Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter, and when Mr. McGregor chased Peter Rabbit out of the garden, his mother served him chamomile tea in order to calm him. This is one of the best ways you can work with chamomile for bringing relaxation and calming to the heart, to the mind, and to the body. Chamomile is a wonderful herb used to address anxiety, irritability, and restlessness. It's said to relax the nervous system, but not depressing it. Many people find working with a cup of chamomile tea in the evening helps them fall asleep faster and ensure a good quality night of sleep. I would say that one of the best benefits of this plant is that it brings us comfort. It brings us a sense of calm and a sense of peace. Many of us deal with anxiety on a regular basis, and a lot of us are learning more and more about anxiety in these recent months with all the stress and challenges that they have brought us. Chamomile is a true ally in these times to help soften and ease that anxiety so that we can feel more calm and at peace, especially when we're making difficult decisions about the future in an uncertain and challenging time. One of the gifts of chamomile is that it relieves muscle tension and pain. It's considered antispasmodic, anti-inflammatory, and analgesic, so it helps to relax those muscles, relieve any inflammation in the joints, and also alleviate pain. I love working with chamomile tea in the evenings to help promote a good quality night of sleep. It helps you to unwind, helps you to relax so that you can fall asleep more quickly, and to sustain a more quality, deep sleep through the night. Much like Peter Rabbit's mother gave him tea when he was chased by Mr. McGregor, I consider this a real plant ally for children. Now, of course, we all have children at heart that can use a little bit of ease, but this plant specifically for young herbalists is very calming. It helps relieve anxiety and tensions of a child's mind. It can be really helpful for nightmares, and I've also used it for colic and for teething in infants. Because this plant is in the aster family and it's a relative of ragweed, some folks find that if they experience pollen allergies, or especially allergies to ragweed, that chamomile can also irritate those same allergic reactions. However, for some folks that experience allergies, chamomile can actually help to soothe and quiet the histamine response and be a great ally to alleviate itching and other allergic responses due to overactive histamine production. Chamomile is especially helpful to relieve itching due to eczema or due to an allergic reaction. This may be helpful using chamomile internally, but I also find it's really helpful using chamomile topically. I simply prepare a cup of chamomile tea and I use it as a wash for the skin. Chamomile is known to be an antipyretic. This means that it helps to reduce fevers. It can be used internally like a tea, or you can also prepare that tea and make a bath of it, a lukewarm bath. I find that that's a really lovely way, or even just a foot bath to help draw the energy down through the feet and out of the body. Chamomile is one of my favorite carminatives, which is an herb that helps to ease digestive upset. This is a great herb for gas and for bloating. I've used this herb for general indigestion and for upset stomach. And whether it's the flower or especially the bitter leaves, that bitter compound can be very helpful for promoting good digestion. It's also calming and soothing to an anxious belly if you're dealing with upset stomach because of nervousness or anxiety. And also because of the azulene and the anti-inflammatory compounds in chamomile, it can be a real aid in leaky gut, soothing and relieving the inflammation of the lining of the digestive tract. Chamomile is one of my favorite herbs to work with when addressing eye irritation, especially pink eye. I typically use this as a poultice where I'll put chamomile flowers in a muslin tea bag or a piece of cheesecloth or even a thin, clean sock. And I'll moisten that tea bag, that poultice, with some warm water, and then I'll hold it directly on the eye for several minutes. I've also made a chamomile tea and washed the eye. Now keep in mind, if you're dealing with eye irritation because of something like ragweed allergies, then you want to use caution. This could be cross-reactive. But for pink eye, this has been one of my favorite herbs to help reduce swelling and inflammation and redness and pain. I simply love working with chamomile to relieve tension headaches. A cup of chamomile tea or a few dropperfuls of chamomile tincture every few hours can really help to unwind the tension in our mind and in our body that attributes to those headaches. Chamomile is a wonderful plant ally to use as a skin wash to address sunburns, itching, and other broad irritations of the skin. If there's a redness accompanying the irritation, then I think about the cooling and the neutralizing properties, the anti-inflammatory properties of chamomile. I also love working with chamomile as a skin toner. I typically soak the chamomile in witch hazel, the same preparations you would use to make a tincture, and I dilute it a little bit with some rose hydrosol or maybe even some chamomile hydrosol, and I spritz that on the face to be refreshing and uplifting, and especially to address any redness, irritation, and it's also great for alleviating redness and irritation associated with acne. A strong cup of chamomile tea makes a great hair rinse, especially for folks that have blonde or light brown hair. It can really bring out the natural highlights of your hair and give yourself a natural, refreshing experience. I use chamomile for menstrual cramps to alleviate the pain and discomfort, either as a tea or by applying a poultice topically to the lower abdomen, and typically accompanying that with a hot water bottle or a heating pad. Chamomile may be contraindicated for folks that are dealing with pollen allergies, as I mentioned, especially ragweed allergies. Some folks find that there is a cross-reactivity between chamomile and ragweed, so please use caution if you experience those allergies. Chamomile is thought to potentially react with anticoagulant drugs and antiplatelet drugs because of the coumarin contained in chamomile. So please consult your healthcare provider or your doctor or your herbalist before combining chamomile with any of those pharmaceuticals. The most common preparation that I work with chamomile is chamomile tea because it's simple, affordable, and easy to make at a moment's notice. But you might also find benefit working with the tincture, the glycerin, the hydrosol, the liniment and witch hazel. I love making chamomile in lotions and salves for pain and inflammation. And I love adding chamomile tea to a bath, not just for relaxation, but also to relieve pain. Try making popsicles out of chamomile tea, either by itself or with a little lemon juice added. It's a great, fun, refreshing summer treat for you and for kids. And it's also really lovely to use for infants and toddlers that are teething. I love working with chamomile in a poultice. As I mentioned, try adding it, just the dry flowers, in a muslin tea bag, a cheesecloth, or another thin piece of cloth, and applying it to the skin for pain and irritation. And of course, don't forget, throwing some chamomile flowers in a muslin tea bag makes a lovely sachet that helps alleviate stress and anxiety. You could tuck it in your pillowcase at night to help encourage relaxation and a good night of sleep. How do you work with chamomile in your garden or in your apothecary or in your kitchen? We would love to hear from you in the comments below, or just send us an email. Let us know some of your favorite ways to work with chamomile, and don't hesitate to send us questions and feedback that can help you build a deeper relationship with this plant and any of the herbs in your garden. If you enjoyed spending time with chamomile and I in the garden today, then I invite you to like this video and subscribe to our channel to receive fresh herbal content each week in your inbox. Check out the description below for more details on resources, recipes, and references for chamomile, as well as links to other herbal opportunities and classes through our school. I really thank you for the honor of spending time with me today and one of my favorite plant allies, and I hope that what I've shared will help you build a deeper relationship with chamomile in your life. Until next time, may the flowers of the garden bring you health and peace to your heart. Until then, many blessings.